Hello beauties, and welcome back to the Bumpy Bones Locksport channel. Now in this video I'm going to be focusing on a review of the Covert Companion by Covert Instruments. And I want to do a disclaimer at the beginning of the video here. I am not a professional locksmith. I'm not a professional lockpicker. I have only been in the hobby of Locksport for the past few months, and I have absolutely fallen in love with it. So I'm going to focus my review of the Covert Companion more on the accessibility side and how it allows me to continue practicing a sport that I have fallen in love with, even when I'm having a bad pain day, or my fingers don't want to work properly, or my wrist is hurting, or my elbow is hurting and I can't bend it in particular ways. This tool allows me to continue practicing even on bad days. So let's go ahead and get started with a review here. So the first thing I really like about the Covert Companion is the assortment of tools that are on it. Now I did also add on the turning tool expansion, the Riv-Pick, and the American Lock Bypass add-on. So normally if you just get the Covert Companion, it's only these tools that are on this side. Everything that's on the left hand side from this bar are add-ons, and also the American Lock Bypass. The other thing that I really love about this too is that you can customize the arrangement of the tools to whatever you want. Now Covert Instruments does have some blueprints that you can do, and I've tried some of those, but yesterday I really settled on a new arrangement of the tools that have been working a lot better for me. I was playing with it all night last night, and it worked really well with this new arrangement on the tools. And so the first thing that you'll notice with the Covert Companion is the width of it. Now, some people don't like that width. That's actually one of the big bonuses for me, is that this gives me a lockpick set that it has a really nice wide handle, and so I can grip this really well. And I'll collapse this in a moment and kind of show you the grip and all of that. The weight of it is actually nice too. Given all of the tools that are on it, it's not too heavy, but it's not too light either. It's kind of at that really nice point or balance with that. And so the tools on it are actually really nice. And as I said before, you can customize this to be arranged however you want it. Now, in the blueprints, they do recommend if you do the Riv-Pick to remove the Genesis picks that come with the Covert Companion, because it's kind of a duplicate. I kept mine on, and the reason why I did that is because of the way you hold the Covert Companion. It gives me additional picks that I can use at different angles that I can't work with, like either with a Riv-Pick or a standard lockpick or anything like that. And so this tool comes with a ton of tools. It comes with your travel hook, comes with comb rakes, it comes with jigglers, your standard hooks, standard rakes. You've got your warded lock picks, and then you got a shank here. So you can go through a wide assortment of locks with the Covert Companion. And then if you add the turning tool extension and the Riv-Pick, it just gives you more. And another thing that I'll disclose is that this is the first kind of multi-tool style lockpick that I have bought and I've gotten. This is actually among one of the first lockpick sets that I bought. When I got into lockpicking, I was inspired by the lockpicking lawyer, probably like a lot of people were. And so when I started to get into lockpicking, my first kit was actually the Genesis set from Covert Instruments, but I also picked this up at the same time because of the width of it, and knowing that I would need tools that were a bit different. That was important to me. So this was a purchase that I am very glad I made. The one thing I don't like about it, and that kind of comes into the reason why I rearranged my tool the other day. was that when I go to collapse the picks, because they're steel, they bend and they warp. And so the original layout was alternating one side to the other, so it was kind of just this in between folding. And what would happen is the tools would get stuck, or two tools will go between, the tools and split and bend. It just was a nightmare in some ways to collapse and fold. So I rearranged it so that they were side by side. And actually, what kind of inspired me to do that was when I got my slim pickings here. So when you go on the Covert Instruments website and you go into their SSF picks, you'll see that they have two different Covert Companions. They've got the Covert Companion, which is all the tools with the exception of the Riv-Pick and the Turning Tool Expansion Pack. But you also have the Slim Pickings, which is just the Riv-Pick and the Turning Tool Expansion Pack. Now, I've really fallen in love with my Covert Companion, and Covert Instruments actually just released a pick set for the Covert Companion that is 0.020 inches wide, so it's a little bit thinner than the picks that came with it. So all the picks on here, with the exception of one of the combs, is 0.25 inches wide. Excuse me. And so I wanted to get the 0.20 inch wide picks for it, because I use those when I'm doing, like, picking the American lock or having to do top of the keyway attention. And it just gives me a little bit more space to maneuver, which sometimes for me is really big. And so what I did was I got the slim pickings and I picked up an additional set of the Genesis picks and the thinner 0.20 inch picks. And the way I arranged them was I just kept them side by side, and I alternated the width. So if I expand my picks here, this is the 25, 20, 25, 20, and the rakes are the same. And this was working really well, having this type of arrangement. And so I figured I would go through my Covert Companion and do the same thing, and it made it so much better. So that was one of the modifications I made recently that really kind of improved the Covert Companion for me. And the other thing I like about the Covert Companion is that with the picks, you get 360 degrees of rotation. And that is important to me, because when I am hurting, or depending on, because of my elbow, I have a permanent dislocation of the elbow. So depending on the height and the angle of which I am trying to pick, I can have, say, my pick at a 90 degree or close to a 90 degree. And then, so if it's a high pick or a high lock, so if I'm taking my practice lock here and I say put it up here, having a more right angle approach to the pick actually makes it easier for me. But if it's a low lock, that gets uncomfortable for me. So being able to adjust that more towards 180 degrees actually makes it so much better for me. So that 360 degrees of rotation that you get with the tool is really nice and really valuable to someone who has a hard time finding proper angles or finding comfort and trying to get your arm or your hand. You'll see me sometimes where I have to actually twist my arm like that in order to be comfortable, because of the way that my elbow is. The other thing I like about this with the expansions is that with the Riv-Pick, it gives you another style of pick that you can keep in your pocket that's very similar to the picks that are in their Genesis set and regular picks. So you can see here, this is a similar profile with a handle. It's similar length. What's really nice about the Riv-Pick is that it does keep straight, and it does have a little platform here to kind of go off of. And the handle's a bit wider still, so it's still very comfortable for me to hold and work with. And so I'll use this quite a bit on occasion. And then getting it back in sometimes can be a bit fun. So that is something that you gotta kind of work at, and it can be a little fussy, as you can see, especially when you're working with a new one. And then the turning tools are nice. Now, as I said before, I haven't reviewed or handled any of the other kind of multi-tool style lock picks that are out there. I know Sparrow has one. I know Dangerfield, Lockpickers United. There are several variations of the multi-tool style pick sets out there. I like the turning tools that come with Covert Instruments because it gives you a assortment of turning tools. So you have between 0.025 inch and 0.050 inch picks, which are really nice. And these work good for top of the keyway and bottom of the keyway. And if you go with the top of the keyway turners from Covert Instruments, you'll notice these are similar but a little different, and you'll notice that they're actually a little thinner in terms of height and width, and that makes it a little bit better when you're working with bottom of the keyway tension. Now, the only thing I don't like about these is that when you go to utilize them as kind of like, say, bottom of the keyway, so let me grab my 0.040 here. And so with my American lock here, if I go bottom of the keyway, it does make it a little awkward to hold with bottom of the keyway. Top of the keyway actually is pretty nice. You go there and you can work with it. These are more designed for top of the keyway. And I guess, working with something that's in a holder like this or in a vise when you're doing bottom of the keyway, that's pretty comfortable and all that. I know the Sparrow's Escort has a little bit of a better tension bar from what I've seen. Again, I haven't worked with it, where they actually have a better bottom of the keyway tension bar. They actually have one that if you cut this end off, that's why I'm kind of hiding it. It's very similar to this style of a tension bar, but again, it's a different style. So with that, with the Escort, what you're getting is you're getting something that's more like a pocket knife, that's got a hard handle on it, and that the picks only come out one way and they stay straight. So if I grab my knife here, it's just very similar to that. And so what they can do is they can slip in the tension wrench on the bottom, and you have a spot for it. You don't really have that capability with this. So given the design of this, and this is really the best way of doing the tension bars with this design, I really like that ability to have different widths, which I think is one of the design issues I've seen with the Escort, was that you can really only, I believe you can only really have one tension bar with it. Again, I haven't really worked with it. It is something that I might do in the future, but because I like the Covert Companion so much, I might very well kind of skip that review. I might get it at some point just to do a comparison with accessibility and just kind of give a review on that. But I probably won't do many more than that. So the other thing that is, how do I want to put it? It's neither a like or a dislike. It's just one of those little things that you notice when you're working with it. So when you're turning your tools, and so like say I'll get my pick out here. Oh, and this is the other thing that I like about it, because I know this is a bit tight right now. You can adjust the tightness of the different sides, which is nice. I do like that ability. But now so when you're working with the picks, one thing that will happen is, because there's no way to lock it, when you're picking, it does move. And what happens is sometimes when it moves, you can see all the other tools moving. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll take a rubber band and I'll wrap that around, and that really helps with that. again, it's neither a dislike or a like with it. It's just kind of one of the uh, things that I've noticed while working with it. The other thing that I did not like about this was I did get the American lock bypasser. And you'll see if I grab, say, like my American lock here, it currently works really well. I can go through, grab, almost all of my American locks and go through now and open these with a bypasser. But when I got this out of box, it didn't want to work right. I had a really hard time getting it into the space. So the way that the bypass works is, where did I put my cutaway lock? Here it is. You slide the bypasser down the keyway, so you have enough room in the keyway there to get this in there, and you're fitting it right into the space here, and you're manually rotating the locking mechanism. So when you're turning it as if you have the key in the cylinder and are turning the key. The problem was, even with the cutaway lock that I got from Covert Instruments, this was too either long or thick, and it couldn't get past the retaining clip if the retaining clip was, say, rotated around towards the bottom, or just it was even too long just to even get in there. And so what I had to do with this was I had to grind the profile down. So I narrowed it in terms of width, and then I also reduced the length of it. And after I made that adjustment, it works beautifully, as you can see. I can go through all my American locks here now and pretty consistently get them all open now. I also had to do the same thing with the Sparrow bypass driver. I actually picked this up just to see if I can do a comparison of the two, and I ran into the same issue with that. So I actually, on this one, did the experimenting of grinding things down, and once I got this working, then I did this this bypass driver. And it was really easy to do. If you have a Dremel, you just put one of the grinding bits on it and just very carefully grind down, make it a little bit thinner. I put more of a slope at the top to kind of help it get into the space that it needs to get into, and then I reduced the length of it. And once I did that, that worked really, really nice. And then the last thing I'll probably say about this I really like, again, is the width. It is wide. So if I take my caliper here, and let's make sure we're zeroed, with the expansion packs and the American lock bypasser, we're at 1.14 inches. And then the slim pickings is at 0.84 inches. And if we just look at the Covert Companion without the expansions, we're sitting at about, and this is just a rough estimate, 0.6 inches. So they are wide, but again, that's one thing that I like about it. The other thing that I didn't quite care for was the Covert Companion does come with a shim and a decoder bit. And you'll notice I don't have that on mine. And I don't have it because it was a pain in terms of when I went to unfold or fold them back in. I had a hard time rotating because they were so thin and flexible, but also because you have it on such a wide handle, when you go to use them, they bend. And so when I went to use the decoder, it was bending all over the place. I actually bent it. Same thing with the shim, so I just took it off. I'll use the decoder that comes with a handle like this and other shims. I don't really need that. They're also consumable bits as far as I'm concerned, in terms of, because they bend so easily and they are destroyed so easily. Every time you would bend it, or eventually you would have to replace it more than you would have to any of the other pieces on this. And I just didn't want that hassle of constantly disassembling this, getting new ones, putting them in. So I just removed them from the from my set. But yeah, so that's my review of the Covert Instruments. Again, if you are looking for a pick set that you can customize, that's got a nice wide handle, that's got a good assortment of tools, I highly recommend getting this. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and everyone have a beautiful day.